I'm just going to be working with Dakota on those basic behaviors again and introduce some new ones. So like I'm going to introduce the mat here. She wants to check it out a little bit. So I'll let her investigate that a little bit before I start asking her to do stuff. So I don't want to like punish her being curious or anything or stop her from being curious in any way. So you can see my default cue there. I'm going to go ahead and reinforce her there. Default cue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Click, feed. So again, I've increased the amount of time that she can stand here. So default cue. And again, I'm not sure exactly the amount of time because I don't know when I'm starting to count. Hopefully you can hear it on the audio, but I will make a separate video on like how I taught each one with me like talking and not just voiceover, so it's a little bit more clear to see. And again, I'm going to work on that same thing from the other side. And I just like to start off her sessions by working on the default because that's been an issue with her of getting too excited and just being too worried about the food and wanting to do other behaviors. So I just like to throw it in the beginning. We kind of review it a little bit and then do other stuff. And sometimes I remember to throw it in between behaviors, but I should be doing it between behaviors as well. So that's super important to remember, is just like stopping and standing needs to be reinforced a lot. So I'm gonna get my target here, and I just have like an old dressage whip with that like wrapped around the end of it to have like a little target. So now I'm gonna start asking her for 2 steps there. Before I just asked her for 1. There I asked her for just 1 that time. I want to start increasing the amount of steps that she can take back and being really consistent that she backs up every single time, so that I can start adding in a verbal cue too. There's 2 steps. Good. Oh, I should have fed that one. I'm not sure why I didn't. And then I'm asking with my other cue, she can back up 2 steps. So while she's kind of thinking about it, then I can start adding in a different cue that you want to use. In this case, just like a hand cue. And then if she doesn't respond to that, I can go ahead and use the target. So I'm just moving her here so the camera can see, and I'm going to work on the same backup from the other side. There's 2 steps. Click and reinforce that. And again, I'm clicking as one of her feet are moving backward off the ground. I don't want to click while her feet are on the ground. That's just going to confuse her. So keep going. There, I'm clicking, and then I'll feed. Give her a second to chew, and then ask again. Clicking, and then feeding. But that looks great. Like if you've seen her before with the data reinforcement of the halter, it was not this pretty. She was very reluctant to move backward. I took a lot of pressure to have her move backward, and this looks so much better. So now we're going to start introducing the mat here. So I just would like her to put like both feet on the mat. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be like somewhat off of the mat too. And I'll just kind of refine it as we go. But I just want her to get the idea, like once you get your feet on the mat, and here I'm moving my hand forward so she can get the food. So again, I'm feeding her for a position. So I'm just moving my hand in showing her that the food is there. And then when she moves to go get it, I will feed her. So I did that last time for her going backward, this time just going forward. And then now that she's got both feet on the mat, I'm just going to rapid fire feed her for position and click feed over and over again so that she gets the idea that staying on the mat is going to get her some reinforcement. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, rapid fire, just click feed over and over again. So I'm giving her somewhat small handfuls, and then just doing that really quickly so that she really doesn't have time to throw in any other behaviors. I don't want to reward anything else, just the standing here. And she's got her attention off to the left a little bit here. That's okay. And then I've asked her to back off, and then I'll just give her a little bit on the mat here. So it is important that you ask the horse to come off, that they don't just wander off, so that they start learning that they stay there until you've asked them. So I'm just going to let her eat that. I asked her to come with me now that she's eaten her little jackpot there. And I'm going to work on stay again. So I'm starting with my cue. You've seen me do stay in the last few videos. She's really gotten the hang of it. We worked with the mat, we worked with the stationary target. Now I'm starting to add in the cue. So I'm just going to have whoa, and then I'm going to place my hand on her forehead and then step back. And right now at this point, I'm just going to still be facing her and just backing away from her, and try to keep her so like in my sight so I can see her, but also like I don't want her following me, so I don't want to turn my back to her and she thinks it's leading. So there she kind of took a step forward. I'm gonna use feeding for position to put her back where she was. There she just kind of stepped forward because it seemed like she had one foot behind the other, so I'm not gonna mess with that. But see how I'm just kind of even just taking a lean, like a half step back. Um, that's really the beginning of where you need to start too. So I don't want I just don't want her to like I want her to figure out the difference between following me and staying. So I'm not going to take a whole bunch of steps back and set her up to fail and she follows me and gets confused. So just little baby steps, very rewarding, and showing her exactly what I want. So I'm starting to add the cue so she knows when to come and when to stay. Because this was a huge, big exercise for all of my horses because they get just anxious coming, like following me, and then they didn't know when they would get the food and didn't know when to follow me, when not to. So this is a huge exercise for them. Now I've increased it, so now she kind of gets the idea. I can start increasing. So here's my cue: take like 3 steps, click there, and then come back. So just like I did before, we just don't have the mat or the stationary target. And you can introduce the cue with either of those things. I just chose not to because I thought she was pretty solid. And I probably worked on it with those things first. I don't exactly remember, but kind of depending on the horse, you'll kind of see what works best. Some of them stand better at the mat. Some of them don't recognize the mat's there and need the stationary target. Others you can just train just like this. So it just kind of depends on the horse. So I'm just kind of hanging out with her a little bit here, and then I'll work with her a little bit more. But it's important to just kind of have sessions or like little breaks in the session where I just kind of hang out. There she was just kind of chilling, and I messed with her mane a little bit, and then I could reinforce her for that. So I'm just she ended up staying there. Like I probably should have kept a little bit of food in my pouch so that I could have put some food on the ground so that she would have something to do and not be confused while I went to go get more food. Um, She did stay there though, so that was good, but that could be one of those moments where they get a little confusing, so I just need to remember to set that up. So now I'm going to be working on the hand target. My goal here was that I wanted to teach her to side pass, and she didn't really know what the hand target was, as far as moving like her face or her neck into it. She did understand like the nose and going forward to it, but here I wanted to kind of present my hand and get like the side of her face. And then my idea was side of her neck, and then her shoulders, and then her hips, and then work on that side pass. And that was my plan. So, because I'd worked on the side pass before with the whips, so she does understand that. But I wanted to do it with positive reinforcement, and I tried using like the whips as targets, and she did not understand that because they were kind of like a poison cue already. So I was gonna go ahead and do this method instead. So I'm just showing my hand kind of near her muzzle because she was a little confused with me being up higher by her cheek. And then just have it right there. I want her face to come touch my hand. As soon as that happens, I'm going to click and feed. So let her feed for a second, eat for a second, present my hand. She touches it, click, and then feed. And I'm just slowly moving it up her face toward her ears. And then I'll move on toward her neck here. This looks great. I love her body language here. Got that hind foot resting, nice and relaxed, not worried about the food, not looking to do anything else. It looks beautiful. And then once my hand's presented, she's touching my hand. That looks great. I'm just kind of give her a little jackpot there on the ground, and then I'm gonna work on the other side. So same thing, I'm gonna start closer to her muzzle. I'll let her kind of get the rest of her food off the ground. Then when she's ready, I'll ask with my hand again, and she goes ahead and touches me. So I want her to come to me. So I do want her to have that choice. And you've seen me teach the head target to Caster because we did a lot of that with haltering, and he didn't want me to mess with his ears, so we did a lot of that with him. Um, so that I can handle his ears. And I really haven't with her because she's obviously a domestic horse, and so you can kind of just do whatever you want to her. So I didn't even really think about it. And now I was like, well, since I wanted to start doing the side pass toward the target, I would start there, and then I'd also have this tool if I needed it in the future for medicating her or doing whatever I needed to do. So I'm asking for the hand target. You just can't see. There's my hand. Yeah, and then we'll just give her my end of session cue.